So in this video I want to talk to you about the signal chain in your mixer. So, busing your tracks, each individual tracks, sending into different buses and stuff. And just, I would prefer to call them grouping in this case. I'm gonna go through Ableton and FL Studio because these are really popular platforms people use. And you can, this concept is exactly the same everywhere you go. Like Pro Tools, Cubase, any type of software. So what I mean by that, so here you can see that I have everything grouped into like in my playlist I already have tracks existent. They already set up as my default set, so it means that when I open Ableton, it straight away opens and presets up everything for me as I set it up prior to that. So here I have drums group, basses group, synth group, vocal group, and effects group. So here in my, what's cool about Ableton is that in particular Ableton you can group it in the way that it's all in here in a playlist. You don't need to go to a separate mixer channel. I think that's what attracted me in this software. However, what I want to point out that inside my drums there I group different tracks. So I have kick, snare, hats, and then you can just add more like percussion, anything drums related can just belong to this group that is called drums. In this particular case, I also have another group inside of the drums group, which is kick and snare. These are separate tracks I included just for that group, so I can manipulate them. Because kick and snare, especially in drum and bass, is like the most essential part of of the tune, of the genre. So you want to make sure that you give them extra bit of attention. So by putting them in a separate group, I can process them, separately outside of hats, percussions, and all that stuff, but within the overall drums group. I find it really useful, like especially when you want to give that extra compression, extra, like soft clipping in a way. Which in here you can see that I put glue compressor. So in my kick snare I have glue compressor presets up, drums I have glue compressor presets up. It's just something that I personally find useful when I start on the project, instead of looking for this plugin, it's just there straight away. Going down, on my hats I have like a preset up equalizer already, standing, cutting the low frequencies that we don't really need for the hi-hats and all that stuff. So yeah, it's really good to save yourself time, pre-setting up. So as soon as you launch, you have idea in your head what you want to make, you go Ableton, run it, it presets up everything for you. On my kick I have an instance of drum rack, on my snare I got instance of drum rack. On my playlist you can see I already put the first notes, the MIDI triggers that will trigger my drum, so I can straight away start going. It's literally the matter of drag and drop here. So on my basses I have presets up compressor separate for kick, separate for snare. You can see it here, kick, snare. I've got a limiter on top of it straight away there. My bass. On my bass I have Serum, OTT. They're all disabled, so it saves my processing power, but as soon as I need them I enable them straight away and good to go. And my effect track where I split my frequencies into separate frequency bands. Synth, same pretty much thing. Ideally what I will do, I will put the same thing on the synth as well, so compressor, sidechain basically stuff. So, and what you can do, you can literally, if you select these two together, press Ctrl G or Command G, I imagine it's on Mac, so it groups for you, and then you can just copy this effect. When it groups, what's cool about Ableton, you can group within this processing chain as well, the audio effects. So then it creates an audio effect track, and here you can just control C, copy that effect track, and you have your already preset up compressor, sidechain unit on a synth already without drag and drop and setting up again. It's really useful. And synth already preset up, Serum, OTT, all that stuff. Vocals, well, they're empty at the moment because I don't find myself using them that often. So when I use them, I just like manually, consciously look for stuff what will fit into particular vocals. However, bass line, synth, I kind of know my workflow more or less already, what I do with drum and bass or any type of genre. It really also depends what kind of genre you work with as well. This layout may vary from genre to genre, isn't it? I want to point out that drums group and basses group, personally, the way I do it, I send it into a separate bus, which is a drum and bass um channel here. So this just sends the signal there. So on this channel over here, the drum signal and bass signal from those groups is going to be combined, and that allows us, for processing these two together. So when the drop hits, you process these two nicely. So you put some compression, whatever else you put to make them work together. I find it really nice, and it's also really good for mastering because it allows you to bring up finalize your mix before and make it as loud as possible before you proceed to mastering. So that's how it works in Ableton, and that is how it works in FL Studio. I just quickly set it up right now. It might not be the best ideal way to look at it, but what I've got here is like my master channel, obviously here. So on my, like when you press on a channel and you can like select layout, you can dock certain channels to certain sides. So let's say when I'm scrolling this side, my left side stays stable, is because these channels that I've created, I've just docked them to the left side. So what I did first, I just created the channels: kick, snare, hi-hats, percussion, basses, a bit of each for every aspect we're gonna make a tune of, and then just create a separate the same one units. But what you do, you just first of all just dock them to the left. Well, it just for personal use, so it's easier for you to see what's going on when the project is full, and so you don't get lost. So you just dock it there, and that your what we're gonna do now is gonna create bus channels. So your bus channels are gonna be on the left side. So your bus channels are drums, kick and snare. Bass is exactly the same as I did in Ableton. So and we do, let's say on kick, that this is the arrows that allow you to route stuff, to desired channels. So exactly the same, like in Ableton it was grouping that they all coming like one underneath each other. Here it's more like actually imagine and taking a physical cable and like, okay, from this channel it's going to that channel, you know what I mean? So kick going to kick and snare, snare going to kick and snare, kick and snare is going to drums, and drums is going to drum and bass. It's kind of cool because it kind of allows you for this like modular experience in a way. So coming here, and drum and bass is going to the master. Basses, so all these basses are going to basses bus, and from basses bus and drum and bass master. Synth, so all this synth, well, you get the idea. Basically they all come into synth bus, and synth bus is going there. It's really cool because it allows you for sidechaining, instead of sidechaining each individual channel, let's say, you just sidechain the individual the dedicated bus channels for this track. That could be a good example where you can start off from, because that literally saves, for me personally, a lot of time straight away, and I cannot recommend it enough to anyone I know who produces music, to go that way, because as less you worry about technical stuff, as more you actually do what you would like to do, actually creating music. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here, and yeah man, you're done now.